A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
Welcome to A Space to Speak Your Mind,
a radio programme and a podcast about mental health and wellbeing, made by people with lived experience as part of a wellbeing group run by Cornwall Mind.
We do occasionally cover subjects that some listeners may find distressing.
For more information, help and support, please visit cornwallmind.org.
A space to speak your mind.
On this month's programme, we'll be hearing from a charity that trains assistance dogs for people living with physical disabilities who are making an urgent appeal for puppy training volunteers. We'll also hear from behavioural psychologist Dr. Linda Papadopoulos about doomscrolling and why it's important to change our habits and avoid excessive exposure to negative news, especially through social media and other online platforms, which can significantly impact mental health.
First though, let's catch up with Jo to find out what's happening at Cornwall Mind this month.
Hi Richard. Well, this week it's Local Mind Week. It's a chance for us to tell you how Mind is structured. I think a lot of people have heard about Mind, but they don't realise we've got National Mind, which is in London, and then there are about 100 local minds across England, Wales and the Channel Islands. And we're all independently run charities, run by local people. That means we raise our own funds, make our own decisions about how we use them. And every penny raised locally is spent locally. We share ideas and learn from each other, and we all work together under the Mind umbrella, if you like, rooted in local communities and connected across the nations. And it's a great opportunity because a lot of people think they're raising money for us by choosing to fundraise for Mind. And that's great because Mind are absolutely brilliant and do a lot of really good work. But although we're affiliated to Mind, we're still an independently registered and funded charity. So if you choose to support Cornwall Mind, every penny we receive stays in Cornwall, and it gets spent directly on helping to fund our wellbeing services for people that are experiencing mental health problems in our local communities. So that's great. But obviously, whoever you support, you're showing you care about mental health. And honestly, that means the world to us.
So we're into August, but we're already looking forward to September with some brand new groups about to launch.
Yeah, we've got quite a lot happening. We've got 5 Ways to Wellbeing starting in Saltash. We've not been in Saltash before. It's a new area. So as you know, we try and reach as many areas of Cornwall as we possibly can. So we're really excited to be in Saltash. And that's starting on Tuesday, the 9th of September. And it will be running between 10 and 12. We're also launching a walking group in Charlestown near St Austell. That starts actually this week, but there's spaces for other people to join, and that will be happening on Wednesdays between 10 and 12. We've got Music in Mind starting again in Bodmin, a really popular group. It's a 6-week specialist workshop, and the sessions are led by Matt Harrison. He's the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra Associate Musician for Cornwall. It's amazing. Looking at how you can use music to feel better and stay well. That'll be running from Wednesday, the 10th of September, between 10 and 12. We're also taking referrals for our Ember project, which is a really good project supporting people who are struggling with binge eating. It's currently available for adults only who live in North and East Cornwall. You just self-refer. That's the beauty of all our groups. You can just self-refer. You don't have to have a medical diagnosis. And even if you're not sure that you're struggling with a binge eating problem, or you don't live in North or East Cornwall, please do still get in touch with us. Just fill in the referral form because we can still help, maybe signpost you to other help that's out there. We've got some new locations for our Hope Walks. Hope Walks is support for people who may have lost somebody to suicide. They're really important support. We're now offering a walk in Newquay once a month, which is on a Monday morning at 10 o'clock. And we're also offering a slightly later, more of an evening walk in Truro between 6 and 8 o'clock. Again, easy to join up. Just fill in the referral form on our website, cornwallmind.org. Our walks also take place at Trellissick Gardens near Truro, Lanhydrop near Bodmin, and Tahidi, a Login. And all the walks run on Monday mornings at 10 o'clock, apart from the Truro evening one. But once you join up, we can share our timetable.
And we also have 2 of our radio wellbeing groups that are starting in September, and people can refer for those as well.
Yeah, brilliant news, Richard. So you're back in Falmouth from Thursday, the 18th of September, 1:30 to 3:30. And then in Truro, up at the Royal Cornwall Hospital, from Wednesday, the 24th of September. And that session runs from 12:30 to 2:30. That's really exciting. We've also got another 5 Ways to Wellbeing starting in Poole. And that starts on the 9th of September, which is a Tuesday, and will be running between 10 and 12. And the 5 Ways to Wellbeing programs are just brilliant. They're 6-week programs where you look at the 5 ways to wellbeing, connect, be active, give, take notice, keep learning. Studies show that those 5 simple actions, if we incorporate those into our everyday life, it can really help us feel better and stay well. So this weekend, it's UK Black Pride, and that'll be taking place between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. at Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in Stratford. Amazing celebration. And each year, the team behind UK Black Pride choose a theme that they feel speaks to the current emotions and energies of LGBTQI plus Black people and people of colour in the UK. The theme this year is freedom and justice, and we just hope that they have a wonderful day.
And it's Grief Awareness Day on August the 30th.
Yes, bereavement affects everyone in different ways. There's no right or wrong way to feel. And feelings of grief can happen because of other types of loss or changes in circumstances. The end of a relationship, the loss of a job, moving away to a new location. So many things can cause grief. Mind have got so much brilliant information on their website about it. So if you head over to mind.org.uk, there's some fantastic information around bereavement and grief and some support as well.
And to find out more about the local Mind groups, just head to cornwallmind.org. And that's Joe from Cornwall Mind giving us an update on everything that's happening this month.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
It is a space to speak your mind, and it's Richard and Victoria this month. So we're into August. It's a time of the year that for most people, they find pleasant with hot weather, the lighter evenings. But that's not the case for everyone, is it, Victoria?
No, absolutely not. I was speaking to someone the other day and they were saying how they really hate the hot weather. And actually, at the end of their working day, they go home, shut the curtains and lie on their bed.
I read something recently about seasonal affective disorder, and we think of that again with the darker evenings and around winter time. But seasonal affective disorder can happen at any time of year, and it does affect people. So as you're saying there, even when we have the hot weather, that may be uncomfortable for people. That might not be the best for getting out. And obviously down here in Cornwall, there's a lot more people around. And for people that have social anxiety or just that general feeling of having more and more people around, it can be very disconcerting. It changes your routine. You might want to go to places that you can't go to anymore because of the amount of people, or just the stress on the roads. I mean, I'm finding this at the moment, travelling around. There's just so much traffic, and if I've got somewhere I need to be, I'm thinking I need to leave earlier. There's a whole minefield around the summer.
Definitely. It's not just all easy peasy breezy. It's like I've found there's certain places I avoid in summer around here. St Ives gets really busy. I don't want to go there when there's everybody here. I'd rather go in the winter time actually, and potter around. So yeah, it does change your patterns of behaviour, and you do have to think ahead about the roads because they are much busier, definitely.
And also using amenities. I mean, there's a lack of public conveniences in a lot of our coastal towns, and the fact that there's so many people around. If you're someone that has anxiety because you need to use the public facilities and you're not able to, or there's long queues, or there's payment which is coming in more and more places, it must be really frustrating to be out and about at this time of year.
Yeah, definitely. I think it feels like there's kind of more rules, and it's not so kind of easy to just go and rock up at the beach and take a stroll and go get a coffee and whatever. It's like you really have to think about all the different steps and what's involved. And, I find myself avoiding busy cafes and things like that. I'm like, nah, I don't want to go there.
How does your friend cope then if they find summer quite challenging? Are there certain things that they do?
He finds the hot weather, he just gets really hot. So yeah, he prefers much cooler weather. He lives in London. It does get really hot in summer, really hot and sweaty, and he just doesn't want to go out. So he'll go home after work and just go and relax and avoid the heat until it's cooled down, and then probably go out a bit later on, go and get his dinner, meet some friends. Yeah.
And of course, sleep is so important for our mental health. And if you can't get a good night's sleep because you're hot, you're moving around a lot. I mean, last night was actually quite windy and I had the window open, but the curtains were just blowing all night. But they were too far away for me to get up and actually do something about it. But I just had a really restless night purely because the weather conditions had just changed.
And we only do think, don't we, that like, oh yay, summer, it's great. But actually, whether it's global warming or whatever it is, it's getting hotter and we are getting conditions that we're not used to.
And I think the other thing with summer is the fact that for people who aren't as comfortable with their body, summer can be a really difficult time because you just feel that you're being looked at and you have to wear certain clothes. And especially on the beach, we want to be there, we want to enjoy the beach, but not necessarily be looked at.
Yeah, definitely. I don't feel mega comfortable wearing a bikini at the beach, to be honest. And I was a couple of years ago at a local beach with a little girl, and we were playing in the sea, and okay, it was kind of like March, April, there weren't really many people in swimwear, but this guy came along and started chatting to me and made me feel really uncomfortable, and I was just like, this is a beach and I should feel comfortable here, but I don't, and also, walking about in town, I don't feel comfortable wearing a pair of shorts and a little top and stuff. So I think we just don't think about this, do we? We don't think about the struggles and the things that people think about before they leave their house each day.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
I'm Victoria.
I'm Richard.
This is A Space to Speak Your Mind. Now let's hear from Lucy Eldred from Canine Partners about how assistance dogs can help people living with physical disabilities and why her charity is making an urgent appeal for puppy training volunteers.
A space to speak your mind.
A charity that trains assistance dogs for people living with physical disabilities is making an urgent appeal for puppy training volunteers, as a sustained decline in volunteering since the pandemic poses a real risk to its ability to meet growing demand for life-changing partnerships which empower individuals with greater independence, security and confidence. Lucy Eldred is from Canine Partners and she joins me now, so thank you for being here, Lucy.
Hello, Richard. Thank you for having me.
So why are you calling for more volunteer puppy trainers?
So Canine Partners is 35 years old last week, and we train assistance dogs to help adults with physical disabilities. And we're finding, particularly post-pandemic, that there is a national decline in volunteering, and a lot of our volunteering roles are quite a commitment. So we're putting out that appeal for anyone who doesn't know about us and wants to find out more, that might be interested in volunteering for us in any way, but particularly our puppy training volunteers, because that is the role that we find most difficult, which might sound hard to believe, asking people to look after some of our amazing puppies, but it is a commitment. It does take quite a lot of energy, and obviously that puppy does then go on to help somebody else. So the volunteers do need to be an incredibly special individual to take on that sort of role.
So tell me about assistance dogs, because they're used in so many different ways and a lot of people can get benefits from them. But just tell us about some of the work that you do.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a dog owner myself, and if anyone out there is a dog owner, I think we all know the impact that any dog can have on their owner, whether that be through physical health, because they've got to get out there in the world, they have to be walked, but also the mental health side of it. I think particularly through a pandemic, I think our pets were our lifelines and our heroes, really, because of that companionship, the temperament of some of the breeds that we particularly work with. If anyone's familiar with the Labradors, the Golden Retrievers, any of the sort of doodle crosses as well, they just give, and that love and support and companionship can be so beneficial for physical and mental health, even for non-disabled people. But if you make the partnership in the way that we're pretty good at making partnerships, we've done over 1,000 of them in the last 35 years, with somebody who has maybe some more challenges, some complex needs with a physical disability that already has huge amounts of barriers in their life and within society generally, being partnered up with that assistance dog can really give them a huge sense of independence, companionship, social inclusion, as well as all of that physical and mental health support as well. So I do believe passionately that they make a huge difference and are really, really important.
Absolutely. And as a dog owner myself, and we've run things with Cornwall Mind around bark run and getting people out and being active, and we just see that the relationship with dogs is so strong, and it gives people sometimes even the reason to get up and go out in the morning. So I can imagine people that are living through difficult times through disabilities, just having that companionship, having a dog that can assist you and get you back out into the world just must be so empowering.
Absolutely. And as you say, dog people talk to dog people. You will always know the dog's name before you know the owner's name when you're out and about doing your normal weekly walks. And it's exactly the same. Many of our beneficiaries use mobility aids like wheelchairs. And we've done research to see the difference between a wheelchair user walking along a normal busy high street and the number of interactions they may get from the general public and people that are not known to them. If they do exactly that same journey walking with an assistance dog, not only are they feeling a little bit more supported, and if they drop their keys they know they're going to get them back, but also actually the interactions just socially, feeling part of a community and feeling part of an inclusive society. They often have the opposite problem. It takes them twice as long to get through that journey because people are wanting to talk and interact. And that's incredibly important, as we know people with disabilities do report feeling more isolated, 4 times more isolated than people without physical disability. So they have multiple benefits.
And what is the process for training an assistance dog? Because I'm sure it must take a lot in the sense that you're finding the right dog. You obviously want it to be partnered with the right person as well. I mean, how long is the process and what are the costs that are involved?
It is a very expensive and lengthy process. That's something that we work really, really hard as a charity to raise the £4 million we need every year to continue training these dogs and supporting these partnerships all the way through to retirement. But they leave our breeding programme where they're with our broods in the volunteer home at about 8 weeks, and they go to our puppy training volunteers. Now, our volunteers don't need any special experience or qualifications. They get supported fully by the charity, either matched up with a trainer, and they can go along to classes so they meet other volunteers. So it can be really, really social. But all we're asking of our volunteers is that they do anything that any good, responsible dog owner would do, which is basic socialisation, obedience, and provide that loving and caring home. And so it's a really, really rewarding and important role to fill. And then as they go through their puppyhood, at around 14 to 16 months, they will usually come into our National Training Centre, which is based up near Loughborough in the Midlands, where they go to another volunteer home, but then they work with our specialist assistance dog trainers to really just hone those skills down. And we start working on that matching process to find the right human for the right dog based on their abilities, their personality, and everything that's going to make that partnership work. And it takes about 2 years to get that dog to partnership, and they'll work for maybe 8 to 10 years after that. And all of that through life support costs the charity around £50,000 per partnership. So it's a lengthy and expensive, but as I keep saying, incredibly rewardful and makes a huge difference to people's lives.
And I guess there are some dogs that, for whatever reason, they go through the process and might not actually become assistance dogs. So what happens to those dogs?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's my operations team that once told me it's like expecting a classroom full of toddlers all to be brain surgeons. Not every dog is suited to that career. We only use positive reward training methods. So we have to figure out, well, what is the best career path for this dog? And now at Canine Partners, we will always strive to get that dog to a fully accredited assistance dog standard that has full public access. Those are the ones that really do make the difference and are most in demand for the people that are on our waiting list. However, we have a number of other career paths. If that dog is just not the right temperament, not suited to it, we're not going to force them into doing something that is not going to make them as happy as they will be. We have other career paths such as a canine home assistant. So they do all of that task work, but they do that in the home, which again, many of our beneficiaries is all they need. We have a canine companion, which gets placed normally with a family. So we can support some children and maybe there might be some learning difficulties, but they tend to provide more of the emotional support. And then we have our breeding program, we have demonstration dogs, we have meet and greet dogs. So it does mean that we end up placing around 85 or 90% of all the dogs that we bring into the system. And then there are one or two that actually they are just set for a life as a really, really good spoiled pet. And then they are rehomed to people that are on our waiting list to rehome any of those dogs as well.
So if someone did want to become a volunteer puppy trainer, how do they go about it?
I will always point people in the direction of our website, so www.caninepartners.org.uk. Have a look. There's all sorts of information on there about how you may want to become involved. And even if it's not able to support with our dogs, there's fundraising, there's speaking, there's all sorts of other ways that you can support the charity. Please get in touch with our volunteering team. There's a very, very simple online form where we just grab a few details and then our volunteering team will be able to get in touch with you and try to work through what the options might be where hopefully we can help each other to make a difference.
So if people want to find out more, they can go to the website and find out from there. That's Lucy Eldred, who is from Canine Partners. Thanks again for being here on A Space to Speak Your Mind.
Thank you very much, Richard.
A Space to Speak Your Mind.
This is A Space to Speak Your Mind, and in just a moment we're going to be talking to Dr. Linda Papadopoulos about doomscrolling. Now, I don't know about you, Victoria, but I find doomscrolling something that is a habit and I can't get out of. I'm always on my phone, and it's just like whenever there's a spare moment, it's picking out your phone and looking for things that aren't really good for you.
Oh my gosh, I do it all the time. I'm addicted to Instagram. I'm always looking at like new music artists, which I think is quite a good way of using my phone, but it goes into hours. hours and hours and hours, and then I look at the time and I'm thinking, why have I just spent 3 hours on my phone? You know, I haven't done anything at all except for just sit here on the phone. And I do think it's such an addiction. We've become addicted, we really have. And I think the biggest impact I've noticed for me is on my patience levels, because I'm expecting everything now, I'm expecting everything instant, and I'm like, my brain is becoming addicted to having things fast, and then I'm like, I can't deal with things when they're slow or normal paced.
And it's really hard to relax after you've been doom scrolling or on your phone. Do you find this, especially in the evening, if you're looking for things all the time, your mind is rapid, you're constantly being stimulated, and to get back into a relaxation mode is really hard.
It's terrible, because then I start to watch YouTube on my phone in bed, and I'm like lying there thinking, you know, how's this helping me sleep? It's really not good.
How do you find it as well if you're looking for things that you're concerned about, and then you suddenly get the algorithm telling you more and more, and suddenly you go down a whole rabbit hole of negative things?
Yeah, that happened quite a bit during COVID when I was sent like conspiracy theories. And so I was going down rabbit holes after rabbit holes, you know, and a lot of the time it was just really like intensely negative things, like absolute doom and gloom about the world. It wasn't uplifting and positive.
I was seeing this week, there was a video that came on my news feed around how people are using social media less and less now. Now, I find this really interesting because I don't post very much now on social media. I deleted my Instagram. I did have an account with TikTok years ago, which I did at the very start, didn't like it at all and barely used it. But I'm coming so much away from social media now, and Facebook is really now only a resource I use if I just want to find out a bit of information, maybe on a local event. But as far as giving out details about my own life or things that I've been up to, or even sharing photos, I'm really not doing that anymore. Are you finding that? And are you see that from your friends as well?
Yeah, definitely. I've seen the decline in Facebook as well. I don't think it's being used as it was before. I'm still quite into Instagram, but that's the only platform. I don't use TikTok. I deleted my ex account. I do have LinkedIn for professional, but, you know, I mean, you don't go posting personal stuff on there. So, yeah, I definitely think that it's in decline. Yeah. And I've heard that young people are not using Facebook. They're not actually joining it. So this is positive.
I think because there's now this open space for a new social media platform to come along, there might be a case of it going back to the very beginning. So I'm hoping there'll be something that comes along which is just about sharing the positive aspects of our lives, sharing the photos, connecting with friends, talking about music and other things. And I just really hope that happens, because I think what's happened with Facebook is it's got to a stage that they've put so much advertising into it, and they've kind of increased it to a level of saturation that we just are fed up with it now, and we don't want to even be on there anymore.
Yeah, it's just actually quite boring. Whenever I go on Facebook, I'm like on there and I'm like looking at these pictures and things. I'm like, I'm not really interested, I'm not really engaged. So I very quickly switch over to Instagram. That's my habit, because at least on Instagram I'm seeing quite beautiful pictures, things that I want to engage in, music artists, yeah, all kinds of things that I'm interested in. So Instagram is working for me, but Facebook, I'm just bored. Over it. Let's find out more about doomscrolling with Dr. Linda Papadopoulos.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
Mindless doom scrolling is a compulsive habit of aimlessly consuming negative online content, and recent findings are showing that as a result of the nation's hours of daily doom scrolling, 28% of people are feeling tired or drained, 22% are feeling anxious or overwhelmed, and half admit it reduces their productivity and creativity. Behavioural psychologist Dr. Linda Papadopoulos believes it's important to change our habits and avoid excessive exposure to negative news, especially through social media and other online platforms, which can significantly impact our mental health. And she joins me now, so thank you for being here, Dr. Linda.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Can you explain a little bit more about what doom scrolling really is?
Yeah, doom scrolling, it's kind of, we've all done it when you kind of sit on your device and you just kind of mindlessly scroll through and just kind of look at different ideas or videos or people speaking. And what it does is it exploits your brain's natural threat detection system, right? So from the perspective of evolutionary psychology, we're wired to pay more attention to negative stimuli, right? And there's a reason for that, because back in the day, it kept us safe. We're like, where's the dangerous berry? Where's the big bear? But what we do these days is we create this sort of negativity bias, right? So when scrolling through news feeds or social feeds, our brain, what it does is it pays attention to these things. It worries. Cortisol is produced in response to these headlines. And this makes us more likely to keep scrolling. So it's then reinforced by sort of these dopamine surges because, it's new information. It's threatening. I need to have more. So the more you you scroll, the more anxious you get. And the more anxious you get, the more you scroll. And before you know it, you've been just mindlessly scrolling for half an hour, and you're literally losing such critical time every day. And not only that, you're biasing your brain to kind of worry and seek out threat and seek out anxious situations.
And also, obviously, with technology, as you're saying there, some of the tech people want us to be online and be on their sites. So they're enhancing those negative behaviors, aren't they? And so for us, when we're maybe looking for like one item, suddenly we're bombarded with those same things. And if they're negative, they're just going to make us feel worse and worse.
That's exactly right. And I've been working with OnePlus to kind of look at what people sort of speak about. And many admit to kind of not only doing tons of doom scrolling, but they're doing it at times that with their friends and family, like almost 50%, instead of engaging with the person next to you, just kind of being on these feeds. They've done it at places like school events, so you're not watching like little Johnny in the play. They've done it at places like weddings. And we're talking about a couple of days every month being lost to this kind of very mindless activity.
Can you explain as well, obviously from a mental health point of view, how does this impact our mental health? We're talking from some of the findings around anxiety and depression. Is that what's happening? Are we finding that people are getting more anxious and more depressed just purely from this daily habit?
Exactly that. So 28% report feeling very tired or drained, 22% overwhelmed and anxious, half saying that their productivity is hugely impacted, about a third their creativity is impacted. So it absolutely can affect people. And, and it also, I think, leaves you feeling like, oh my gosh, I've wasted time. So then you have that regret as well. So in the moment that you're doom scrolling, you lose the time, you kind of look up and it's whatever, it's 20 minutes, half an hour later, where you could have been doing any number of things. It would have been much more functional, both mentally and physically, but you're literally wasting that time. You're losing it.
I guess the difficulty is, we have our phones in our pocket and our phones are very useful. We have our whole lives on there. We use them for navigation. We use them for our calendars, for podcasts, all kinds of things. But they are also there with these negative elements. So how do we find ways around this? What are kind of the tips that we can do to maybe still have our phones in our pockets, still have them for the positive aspects, but come away from maybe the negative aspects that we might find?
That's a great question. Look, to break the scrolling habit, you don't have to abandon your phone altogether, but it's about using it differently. So it's not how much time is spent on the phone. It's about spending time well on your phone, right? So instead of opening social media or open a podcast app, try a journaling tool, learn a new language, play a learning game, listen to a TED Talk, bring up a recipe and try cooking it with someone in your family. These aren't distractions. They're intentional uses of tech. And when you use tech intentionally, it has the potential to serve rather than hinder well-being, right? So what we want to do is we want to build new mental associations with our phones. And that way we, are able to kind of get that attention back. So in effect, you've got to think about it in terms of replacing, not restricting. Because if what we're saying is like, no, don't scroll, that's tough. Instead, what we want to say, what can I do instead, right? Why am I reaching for my phone right now? Do I want to be stimulated? Do I want to feel connected? Do I want to feel comforted? Do I want to feel challenged? And then I need to find a way of doing that without the doom scrolling. So if it is about the connection, maybe I'll actually call somebody on my phone, right? If it is about the stimulation, then maybe I'll open a learning app. Maybe I'll listen to a TED Talk. Maybe if it's about me feeling anxious or agitated, maybe I'll put the phone down and do some squats or go for a walk around the park. So it's about looking at what is the intent and then replacing the behavior in order to meet that intent more effectively.
And I guess the other thing is as well, if we're looking for more positive things online, if we're looking for things around mindfulness or positivity, those start bringing up more and more hits along those kind of lines. And it gets us into a nice positive atmosphere of finding things that maybe we hadn't researched before.
Absolutely. Again, I often speak about curating your consciousness. It really matters what you put in your mind. You've got to think about it as like a big, beautiful museum room. And if on the walls are all the worst stories of the day or people fighting or sensationalist headlines or bad stories, it's going to impact you. On the other hand, if on those walls are the voices of people that you want to hear and engage with, are you creating something, you growing as a person, if on those walls are moments of activity and engagement, then you're going to have a much healthier headspace.
So where can people find out more information on what we've been talking about today?
If they go to oneplus.com, all of the tips that we've been speaking about today are there. And also, they've got this really cool game called Brain Rot Blaster, which basically speaks to, it's kind of like sort of old-timey like video game where you kind of blast all these sort of people that seep your attention, whether it's sort of like the crypto bros or the sensationalist headlines. And it's very tongue-in-cheek, very cute. And you can only play it once, because once you've played it, it's time to get off and do something more productive. And I love that.
Oh, no, that sounds amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and that's been really insightful. That's behavioural psychologist Dr. Linda Papadopoulos. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
Thanks again to Dr. Linda Papadopoulos, and some good advice there about using our phones for positive aspects when she was saying about using things for mindfulness, because when I start looking for mindfulness videos on YouTube, I tend to find more and more, and then I have the positive aspects of things that maybe I hadn't searched before or wouldn't have come across otherwise that start appearing on my feed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great resource, isn't it? It's basically like we've got the whole world at our fingertips. You know, we can research things. I've done a lot of research about mental health stuff on there. Not saying that everything on there is always accurate, but, you know, it's been very useful in looking at different conditions and ways of treating things and things that would help with general anxiety.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.
That's all for today's programme.
If you missed anything, you can download the podcast right now on Apple, Spotify and Amazon Podcasts.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear the new episode when it comes out, or listen back to any of our previous programmes.
For support and more information for better mental health, visit cornwallmind.org, or you can call the Mind Helpline during office hours.
On 0300 123 3393.
Or call the NHS Crisis Hotline on 111 and then press 2.
This gives you another way to get urgent help if you're struggling with your mental health.
And you can call the Samaritans anytime for free on 116 123.
If you'd like to be a part of the show, you can get in contact. Email aspacetospeakyourmind@gmail.com.
And you can find out more about the show if you follow Cornwall Mind on Facebook or Instagram, or on their website cornwallmind.org.
A space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind.